Okay, so yes, as Jens said, this is specifically looking at social media management as an international effort, and this has been something with the ArchaeoBalt project that we've really worked with, because we have had social media managers from all of the different partner organizations involved in this from the beginning. So first, we will look at the at ArchaeoBalt's social media strategy heading into the first year of excavations and how it was set up as an international effort from the beginning. The aims for ArchaeoBalt's social media program, as summarized here, were to disseminate information about the ArchaeoBalt project, Archaeotourism, Baltic Heritage, and the Interreg South Baltic program, as well as show the cross-border character of the project's actions in social media. The aims reflected the project's main goal of establishing a cross-border archaeotourist route in the South Baltic Sea region. Experimentation with social media strategies is a vital approach for heritage organizations to find the methods that work best for them. And this approach of trial and error was ArchaeoBalt's main strategy for social media content during the project's first year of implementation, which allowed for a certain amount of freedom to try out different types of posts and see what worked best in terms of audience engagement. One of the major challenges, one of the major social media challenges for organizations is a lack of human resources. By design, social media accounts are simple to create. It usually only takes a few clicks of a mouse on any platform to set that up, but successfully managing those pages can take more time than realized at the outset. The amount of time spent managing social media content depends on the needs of the organization, and suggestions as to the optimum time spent on them can vary. For individuals or small teams managing content across several platforms, as is the case with ArchaeoBalt, marketing experts suggest anywhere from around 4 to 12 hours per week spent planning, implementing, and managing strategy results. To that end, ArchaeoBalt formed a team of information managers between the project's 5 partner organizations, of which I was part of as a social media intern, to collaborate on creating social media posts. Representatives from each organization were responsible for creating content for and from their events and posting to ArchaeoBalt's Facebook and Instagram pages during excavations and other ArchaeoBalt related events. We began with pages on Facebook and Instagram in 2019. And as of October 1st of this year, it has 790 followers on Facebook page and 370 on Instagram. And I actually, I have some more updated numbers. As of this morning, I believe we're up to around 840 followers on Facebook. And then, as Carolina mentioned earlier, we are now on Twitter as of August of this year. And a quick look at our audience. As part of my master's thesis, I also did a study of the follower demographics for ArchaeoBalt's Facebook and Instagram pages. And this revealed that the project's online audience could be grouped into one or more of the following categories. First are the students, volunteers, and other ArchaeoBalt affiliates who have been directly involved in excavations or other project activities. The site visitors who are looking to gather information before their visit and or wish to follow up with the project afterwards. Residents living near one of the excavations who are interested in archaeology and heritage. Heritage enthusiasts who are unable to visit but are interested in learning more about the sites, about Baltic heritage, or about archaeology in general. And finally, those who are connected to individuals involved in the project who may originally be from outside the South Baltic Sea region. I know, for example, I'm pretty sure that my mom follows us on Facebook, even though she's from the US. So using this information, ArchaeoBalt's information managers can use these categories to help create content that one or more of these groups will find interesting and engaging. So with that strategy in mind and having identified our audience, we can now turn to look at how the management with this international team has worked in practice. And first, we'll address the benefits that have come about through working with this team. The strategy worked really well in terms of balancing the workload between multiple people. As I mentioned earlier, it can, take an unexpected amount of time to actually create and manage content for these pages. And especially as the information managers fill additional roles both within and outside of the project during excavations and throughout the year, it has been really helpful to be able to spread this workload out. Additionally, this allowed for continued coverage throughout the excavation season. So here is a timeline of the Archibald associated activities in 2019. And you can see, except for there's a break there in August where there was a holiday and there weren't any events at the time, but there were frequent posts, several times a week, sometimes, every day from May through late September. And then during the August break, there were posts still being made about both the results of previous events as well as hyping up the upcoming events. So there was never a lull in content at this time. And then finally, there were also more opportunities for interactions with an international audience due to the language spread of the information managers. Archaeobalt mostly posts in English, but of course the main languages of the audience are Polish, Danish, or Swedish. The Facebook Translate tool makes it easy for our followers to read posts in their own language, but having team members able to respond to comments in those languages is an added bonus that can lead to greater audience engagement. Of course, this type of working with an international team is not without its challenges. The first was the different writing styles of the information managers led to a lack of a cohesive voice for the ArchaeoBalt page. I have an example of that here. On the left, we have an example of a post from the Poland team, and they make greater use of emojis and exciting language, whereas posts from the Swedish and Danish teams, which I have examples of on the right, are more strictly information-oriented, or have been up to this point. Organizations often overlook brand voice on social media, but it is a really important aspect that works to connect with the target audience and makes the page feel unique to them in an already oversaturated market. Identifying a brand voice first requires identifying the target audience, which we saw a couple slides ago. So with this target audience in mind, one method ArchaeoBalt can utilize to ensure consistent voice between different writers and platforms is to create a brand voice document to act as an overarching policy that can be referenced by the information managers whenever they're writing a new post. Alternatively, posts can be reviewed by a single team member who has a firm grasp of ArchaeoBalt's voice to refine them before they're published. Another challenge was the difficulty in coordinating a schedule between the various page administrators. If we return to the timeline that we looked at earlier, from late spring through early autumn, the posts were primarily created at the sites that had ongoing excavations or other ArchaeoBalt-related events. This was not an issue most of the time, but there occasionally were overlaps of posts from the different locations that flipped back and forth between the sites. So I have one example here. It's just a series of posts that show this back and forth between the different excavations at Upokra and Ovitz over the course of a week. And when presented in this way, the posts can appear to have a disjointed nature that doesn't necessarily reflect the interconnections that ArchaeoBalt is trying to foster through the Archeo route. However, after the completion of the 2019 field season, there was more focus on featuring the Archeo route through the series of ArchaeoBalt numbers posts, which Carolina also showed earlier. And this reflects the project's first year of events and also set the precedent for a greater emphasis on establishing a connection between the sites going forward. Of course, the 2020 season did not go as planned. The second year of the project was meant to build on those strategies that we found that worked best. But unfortunately, the excavations and other events in Denmark and Poland had to be put on hold due to Corona. However, the flexibility of ArchaeoBalt's social media strategy has allowed it to adapt and adjust. There were several series posts that provided broader information on the ArchaeoBalt sites and Baltic archaeotourism. These had varying rates of success. So the post over on the left is an example of one of our history of posts. This looks specifically at the history of the archaeology of the site. So this one is for Stormul. There was also one for Ovets, which sort of looks at how the site was discovered, information about previous excavations that took place at the site. And these types of posts were actually quite successful in that they received a lot of engagement through likes. Over on the right was another initiative called Summer with ArchaeoBalt and Archaeotourism. And the idea was to encourage the use of the hashtag ArchaeoBalt to create user-generated content and get people to share their favorite photos of archaeological sites around the Baltic. But unfortunately, this strategy received little engagement. So this shows kind of how important it is to try out new things and see what works and what doesn't to be able to create a stronger strategy moving forward. There was also great new content from Upokra as they held excavations this year. And this helped keep our audience engaged by providing new material from Sweden, along with the recycled material from last year's excavations in Poland and Denmark. And I just want to look at some of our social media highlights and take a look at our best performing posts that we had. So the post here on the left was actually the most successful post in terms of reach and engagement. And these were on Facebook. And the way that these numbers are calculated are the reach and engagement with the original post as well as with all of the shares that this post receives. So this post with the little horse figurine and the guldgubbe was shared by many people, and that increased the reach up to 8,500 people, and it received 1,500 engagements. And that one is from Sordamul. And then the post on the right is from Upokra, and again, that one was also very successful with a reach of 7,400 and engagement count again of 1,500. Also successful were videos. There were not nearly as many videos posted as there were photos. Again, part of that is just the time it takes to process and produce these videos. But the Facebook algorithm actually prefers videos, so it is more likely to show videos to more people. The engagement rate, you'll notice, is much lower than the photos, and that is because the Facebook Insights calculates the engagement rate differently for photos and videos. But if we look at the reach here for some of these videos, we can say that they performed really well. And we have examples here from both Upokra and Ovets. And then finally, look at some of our top posts on Instagram. Again, we have the post with the horse figurine, and the guldgubbe was the second photo that isn't shown here. These numbers do seem much lower than the Facebook, but that also has to do with, again, how the reach is calculated, because Facebook is all about sharing posts and reaching more people, whereas with Instagram, your posts are shared with your followers or discovered through hashtags. So it's really important to have kind of a savvy use of hashtags on Instagram. And as we can see here, the two other posts are actually part of the history of series that we had, or that I had mentioned earlier. So these posts, these highlights here show that there was engagement with material and content from all of the sites. And there is a willingness to engage with the content even when there are no ongoing excavations, and especially during Corona times when everything is sort of always up in the air about excavations and events and when and if and how they will happen. This does show that social media is, quite a powerful tool for still being able to connect with our audience. And it also suggests a future focus for providing more video content, especially as this is something that is supported by the Facebook algorithm. So just to wrap it up with a few key takeaways that I think come out of this. First is that a geographically and linguistically diverse social media team can help to ensure fresh content and satisfying interactions with followers. Also, managing a social media team as part of an international team comes with many challenges, but these can be mitigated through a solid social media strategy and good communication between the information managers. And finally, flexibility is very, very important. This is in regard to both unexpected circumstances, such as Corona, but also to keep up with the constantly changing social media trends. So that is all I have for now. So thank you all very much for your time, and I look forward to continued conversation during the discussion.